Hi guys! Today I'm going to be showing you how to knit my Moonbeam Beanie in super bulky yarn. If you want to knit this hat in a different weight, go check out my blog griswoldknits.com and you can find all the information there. Today we are going to be knitting this hat, like I said, with super bulky yarn. So let's get started. So for this project you will need about 90 yards of super bulky 6 yarn. I am using Malabrigo Rasta in the color Amphibian, but you can use any super bulky yarn you have. You need 2 cabling needles. You need a pair of US 13 9mm 16-inch circular knitting needles, as well as US 15 10mm 16-inch circular knitting needles. You will also need some sort of stitch marker. I'm just using a scrap of yarn. And once you have all your supplies gathered, we will get started. For sake of saving time, I'm not going to demonstrate how to cast on and join in the round in this video, but if you need help, I have the long tail cast on method as well as how to join in the round in videos that I will link below. So I've already gone ahead and cast on my 48 stitches. You need to cast on 48 stitches for this project, and you can knit either a single brim or a folded brim. You can follow along with the pattern on my blog. For this demonstration, I'm just going to do a single brim. So we are going to start by knitting 1 and purling 1. If you are doing a single brim like I am, you are going to knit 1, purl 1 for 7 rounds. If you want to do a folded brim, you are going to knit 1, purl 1 until your brim measures 4 inches from the cast on edge. So like I said, all of this information is available on my blog, so just go check it out over there. I do want to mention that after you complete your brim, we are going to switch to our larger US 15 10mm needles, and we are going to knit 1 setup round before we begin working on the body of our hat. So once your brim is complete, I will show you what to do next. Okay, my brim is complete. I just finished my 7th round. So now I am switching to my larger US 15 10mm knitting needles. For the setup round, we are going to knit 5, purl 2, knit 3, and purl 2 for 1 round. So first we will place our stitch marker and then knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Bring your working yarn towards the front. Purl the next 2 stitches. 1, 2. Knit the next 3 stitches. 1, 2, 3. And then purl the last 2 stitches. 1 and 2. So you're just going to repeat those steps until you make it all the way back to the stitch marker, and then I will show you what to do for round 1 of the body. So for round 1, we are going to work a round cable, purl 2, work a right twist, and purl 2. So these might be new techniques for you, the right twist and the round cable. It's a lot all at once, but I'm going to break it down and show you. I also have individual tutorials for each of these stitches if you want to go check it out for extra practice. So we are going to start with the round cable. The round cable is worked over a series of 5 stitches, and you need 2 cabling needles in order to work it. So we're going to start with our 5 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. You're going to take one of your cabling needles and slip the first stitch purlwise onto your cabling needle and hold it towards the front of your work. Then you will take your second cabling needle and slip the next 3 stitches purlwise onto that cabling needle. 1, 2, 3, and hold these 3 stitches towards the back of your work. So we've got 1 stitch here in the front, 3 stitches in the back, and our 5th stitch here on our left hand needle. So what I like to do is kind of anchor that back needle. I like to hold it down with my left hand or my left finger to keep it from flopping in the way. Then we are going to knit that stitch from the left hand needle onto our right hand needle. Pick up our back cable first and knit the 3 stitches from that back cable onto our right hand needle. One, 2, 3. And lastly, we are going to pick up that front cabling needle and knit that single stitch from the front cable needle onto our right hand needle. And that's it. You've just worked a round cable. And so we will just continue to build up our cable until it's time to work the round cable again. But it's not too bad, right? So next we will bring our working yarn to the front and purl the next 2 stitches. 1, 2. And now we are going to work a right twist. So a right twist is worked over 2 stitches. So I'm going to move my working yarn towards the back. And to work a right twist, you are going to go into those 2 stitches as if to knit. So go into both stitches as if to knit them together. Then we will wrap our yarn and pull our yarn through those stitches. But instead of sliding our stitches off, we are going to separate the first and second stitch and go into that first stitch knitwise. Wrap our yarn, pull through, and now we can slide off. And that is how you create a right twist. So you can kind of see this right lean we have here. Then we will knit the next stitch and purl 2. So just repeat those steps until you make it back to the stitch marker. So for round 2 and all even rounds, so 2, 4, 6, and 8, we are simply going to knit 5, purl 2, knit 3, purl 2. So we'll start it off with our knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, purl 2, 1, 2, knit 3, 1, 2, 3, and purl 2. 1, 2. So you're just going to repeat those steps until you make it back to your stitch marker, and then I will show you what to do for round 3. For the sake of saving time, I am not going to show you all of the even rounds because they will all be the same. They will all be the knit 5, purl 2, knit 3, purl 2. So feel free to come back and rewatch round 2 if you need help. Otherwise, we are just going to move forward. So once you finish round 2, I will show you what to do for round 3. So for round 3, we will knit 5, purl 2, knit 1, work a right twist, and purl 2. So we will start by knitting 5 stitches. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, purl 2, 1, 2. So on round 3, we will knit 1 and then work a right twist. On round 1, we worked a right twist and then knit 1. So we are going to alternate, and that is how we build up our right twisted cable. So we're going to knit 1 and then work a right twist. So we're going into both of those stitches knitwise. Pull our yarn through, but don't slide off. Separate those 2 stitches. Go into the first stitch knitwise. Pull our yarn through and slide off. And then we will purl 2. 1, 2. So just repeat these steps until you make it back to your stitch marker. For round 4, you will knit 5, purl 2, knit 3, and purl 2. So go ahead and complete round 4, and then I will show you what to do for round 5. So for round 5, we will knit 5, purl 2, work a right twist, knit 1, and purl 2. So we will start by knitting 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and we're starting to see that body of our cable build up. Then we will purl 2, 1, 2, and this round we will work a right twist and then knit 1. So we kind of alternate between knitting 1 and working a right twist, and then working a right twist and knitting 1, and that's how we build up our mock right twist cable. So we'll start with that right twist, go into both stitches knitwise, pull our yarn through, go back into the first stitch as if to knit, and knit, purl through. Then we will knit 1 and purl the next 2 stitches. 1, 2. So just keep working these instructions until you make it back to your stitch marker. So same deal as before. For round 6, we will knit 5, purl 2, knit 3, purl 2. So once you're done with round 6, I will show you what to do for round 7. So by this point, you should see a good amount of your round cable working up, as well as your right twist. It should start looking a little something like this. So let's begin round 7. We will start with a knit 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, purl 2, 1, 2. This round we are going to knit 1 and then work a right twist. So go into those 2 stitches knitwise, wrap your yarn, pull through, go back into the first stitch and knit, and slide those stitches off your needle. Then we will purl 2. So just repeat those steps until you make it back to your stitch marker, and then we will begin round 8. Okay, we are on round 8, so this is the last repeat of the body of the pattern. So it's again just the knit 5, purl 2, knit 3, purl 2. So we're going to start with that knit 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, purl the next 2, 1, 2, knit 3 right across that right twist, 1, 2, 3, and purl 2. So just repeat those steps until you make it back to your stitch marker, and you are just going to want to continue working rounds 1 through 8 of the pattern until your hat measures the length that you desire. So if you're knitting a single brim, you want to continue knitting until your hat measures 8 inches from the cast on edge. If you're doing a folded brim, you are going to want to repeat the body of the pattern until your hat measures about 10.5 inches from the cast on edge. You're going to want to end on rounds 1, 3, 5, or 7, and then begin decreasing your hat. Again, all the information is on my blog, so just go check it out and you can follow along. All right, once you're ready, I will show you how to decrease your beanie. So for round 1 of our decrease, we're going to start with a slip, slip, knit. So we work a slip, slip, knit by going into the first stitch as if to knit, but slipping it onto our right hand needle, going into the second stitch as if to knit and slipping it on our right hand needle. Then we will place both of those stitches back on our left hand needle, and then we will go in through the back loops of those 2 stitches and knit them together through the back loop. And what this does is it creates a left lean in the decrease. And on the opposite side of the cable, we will create a right-leaning decrease to allow our cable to taper into itself. I just think it looks nicer. Then we will knit 1. And knit the next 2 stitches together, and this is going to be our right-leaning decrease. So maybe you can kind of see we've got the left-leaning decrease on this side and the right-leaning decrease on the opposite side here. So that'll just allow the cable to kind of taper in. Next we will purl 2. One, 2. And here we are at our right twist. We are just going to knit the first stitch and then knit the next 2 together. So we'll knit 1 and then knit the next 2 stitches together. And then purl 2. So just repeat those steps until you make it back to the stitch marker. At the end of this round, you should have 36 stitches. Round 2 of the decrease is pretty straightforward. We will just knit 3, purl 2, knit 2, and purl 2 all the way around. So we will just start by knitting 3, one, 2, 3, purl 2, 1, 2, knit 2, 1, 2, and purl 2, 1, 2. So just continue repeating these steps until you make it back to your stitch marker. At some point, it is going to become difficult for you to continue decreasing your crown. Your stitches will become too tight. So you will either need to switch to a longer cord and use the magic loop method to decrease, or switch to a set of double pointed needles. I'm going to be using the magic loop method and switching to a longer cord, but use whatever method you prefer. Okay, I've gone ahead and switched to a longer cord, and we're ready to begin round 3 of our decrease. Round 3 will start with a knit 3 together, so we will knit all 3 of these stitches together. So you're just going to go in as if to knitwise I should say, in those 3 stitches. And it can be a little bit tricky. And then just knit them together. And you can see we've got this nice tapered teardrop shape to our cables, which I love. Then we will purl 2. 1, 2. And then knit the next 2 stitches, the stitches of our mock right twist cable. Knit those stitches together. And then purl 2. So again, you'll just repeat these steps until you make it back to your stitch marker. And at the end of this round, you should have 24 stitches remaining. We are on round 4 of our decrease, and this round we will just knit 1, purl 2 together all the way around. So start by knitting 1 stitch and then purling the next 2 purl stitches together. So bring your working yarn to the front and go into both of these stitches purlwise. And then purl them together. And that's it. This is it's getting easier and easier as we go. So we're going to knit 1 and purl 2 together. And just repeat these steps until you make it back to the stitch marker. At the end of round 4, you should have 16 stitches left. All right, guys, we made it to our last round of the decrease. For round 5, you are just going to knit 2 stitches together all the way around. So we'll start with the first 2 stitches and knit them together. That's really it. Next 2 stitches. Boom, knit those together. So just repeat those instructions until you make it back to your stitch marker. At the end of the final round of decrease, you should have 8 stitches remaining. Congratulations, guys! All we have to do now is cinch our beanie and weave in the ends. You're going to want to cut a tail that is long enough to do just that. I cut probably about an 8 to 10 inch tail, and then I'm going to go ahead and weave it onto a tapestry needle. And what you're going to do is just taking your tail, you're going to slip the remaining stitches from your left hand needle onto your tapestry needle and run that tail through the loops. Once you pull your beanie closed, you'll see this kind of star shape at the top, these bunched up loops. I like to weave my tail underneath the loops that bunch up in the center of my beanie. So I'll just go around, picking up those loops in the center and weaving my tail underneath. Once it's nice and secure, I will then go down through the center of the beanie. Pull that tail through. And then I basically just do the same thing on the underside. I will run my yarn tail through those stitches at the top that are bunched up. Sometimes, depending on the pattern, the stitches might be a little bit off, but that's okay. You're just going to run them underneath the center loops. At some point, I like to find a stitch and then tie a little knot using my tail. Just like that. Sometimes I'll go for a double knot just to make it nice and secure. And then I will continue to run my tail underneath some of those center loops and hide that little knot. I'll just pull it through. Can't even see it. And then I'll just continue weaving in my end until I'm ready to snip. Here it is. This is the final beanie. I hope that you guys enjoy this pattern. If you like my designs and my tutorials, please like, subscribe, and share. Help me to grow my channel. I appreciate all of your support. This is what the hat looks like if you choose to do a folded brim. This is knit using Lion Brand's Thick and Quick yarn. So remember, you don't need fancy yarn to knit a beautiful hat. As always, be well, and I will see you in the next one.
And of course you can't become if you only say what you would have done. So I'm gonna stop.